Hey guys, what is up? This is Raven here, and the patch 11.2 notes have just dropped because patch 11.2 has just been released. So I'm gonna give you my first opinions on the patch. I have looked at this patch, the patch notes one time through, so I do know quite a bit about what's been changed, and I have my opinions on it, and I would like to share it with you guys. So this is gonna be a very ranty style video, as a lot of my videos are. So this is not scripted at all, so yeah. Okay, so going to the patch highlights, we have a couple of skins, which, you know, the Shanghai skins looks really cool actually. I wouldn't mind. The Ruin skins look really nice. And yeah, so nerfs are Akali, Darius, Elise, Ivern, Maokai, Nunu, Olaf. And the buffs are Azir, Caitlyn, Dr. Mundo, LeBlanc, Nocturne, Senna, Shaco, Soraka, Trundle, Varus, Aatrox, and Zoe got adjusted or updated. Item changes, they're buffing Essence Reaver, and they're nerfing Gale Force, Imperial Mandate, Kraken Slayer, Hextech, Rocket Blade. They're changing Shurelius, buffing Gargoyle, and they're reworking the Tank Mythics, and reworking Lethality and Marksman Legendary items. So those aren't really buffs or nerfs, they're just kind of adjusted and just kind of throwing things around. Alright, so let's get started. So the big thing that came with this update is Viego, the new character. I have my opinions on it, and they're not good. I think Viego is gonna be a champ that's gonna be really hard to balance, and I think he's probably gonna be in a similar state to almost like a Aphelios or like a Silas. Like, the reason we don't really, I feel like Viego's, the ability to possess champions that he's killed or allies killed within 10 seconds, I think, of him hitting it, it's gonna be very deadly, especially because of the way his the champ passive interacts, like the fact that he could control the passive. So if he kills, for example, Ornn, he can craft ornaments for his allies. So this is really busted, in my opinion, and it's gonna be, I think, one of those champs that Riot is gonna have a really tough time balancing, and it's probably gonna be a sore spot on a lot of players for a long time. Again, really time will tell, but you know, having a good amount of lifesteal on his Q, having a stun on his W, making making him have untargetable zones on the map with E, and then, like I said, the ulti just being able to not only execute but steal other people's champs. And it's gonna be really busted, especially with items. So, you know, it'll really swing fights in his way, because now I think the way, if Viego's on the map, you really have to bring a more protect style comp. I think actually no, protect style comps I think will be kind of phased out completely unless you play that protect style very well. Any kind of relying on hyper carries, I think those are probably just gonna go down. Gold funneling strats, hyper carry strats, they're all dead, I think, with Viego, because the issue with Viego is that, you kill the hyper carry, or you kill, the person you gold funneled to, and okay, that's it. You have that gold funnel player, character, or that hyper carry on your on your team suddenly as Viego, and you can just really swing fights. So I think this is gonna force everybody to kind of have scale well, and it's really gonna put more emphasis on who you give kills to in fights, because now you just can't have one person running away with the game, because if one person runs away with the game, Viego kills that person, fights will start to swing. So this is why I don't like Viego, and I think he's gonna be pretty much banned really often, both I think in normal play and in pro plays. Like I said, especially in solo queue, where you low, high elo, I think lower elos might be more affected, where one player has the ability to 1v9, and if, like I said, if just Viego manages to pick him off really quickly in a team fight, oh god, there's a lot of chaos that can be happening. So in general, I don't really like this champion. I think Riot has a really good idea, this is a really interesting champ idea. I just don't think it will work well with the game, but again, only really time will tell. Alright, so let's actually get to the changes. So Akali has her Q mana cost, energy cost, sorry, not mana cost. Energy cost increased. I think at the start it's not going to be super significant, but when she puts 5 points in Q, that's going to be very significant because Akali only has 200 energy, so having 5 point strike drain 100 energy instead of 80 energy is really going to be pretty huge because that's half her energy gone right there. Which means that, you know, it's going to be hard for her to cast her other abilities, so it's going to make her a little bit more energy conscious, and she's going to have to definitely play a little bit better, a little bit smarter as well, and she definitely can't spam 5 point strike quite as much. Whether it's gonna be significant, I don't think so. It's not gonna be super huge for most casual play. I think pro play is gonna be kind of affected. Maybe you'll see her banned less, but only time really will tell. I think her power really does come from like her AP scaling, not really from the cooldown reduction, from the energy cost, but you know, just having her spam that less is definitely gonna be a bigger thing. With Azir Conquering Sands, all his kind of the Conquering Sands cooldown has been dropped by 1 second. It's gonna help Azir. I think it's a definitely feels good change. I would say in terms of significance, it's probably low to medium impact on Azir. I think Azir is still one of those champs that definitely has, you know, the potential. It's still really good. I just don't think I just think there's a lot of mid lane champs right now that are better than Azir, but Azir I think still does really well into, you know, most of his matchups. So I think this is just gonna be a really nice kind of just kind of a small little kind of pick me up buff, and it's gonna maybe help him get thrust into like the higher tiers of the tier lists. Yeah. Caitlyn, attack damage grows 2.88 to 3.3. That is very strong. And that's really gonna help Caitlyn out on her with her damage. I don't think Caitlyn is gonna be relevant still, because judging from the way people are playing these days, you really want a lot of team comps are centered around team fighting, and there's not as much siege comps anymore. Like, their pro players are playing poke comps to some extent. Like, you could pick Nidalee Jace and it still may work as a poke comp, but you know, when it comes down to it, I think team fighting comps are still better. So I think Caitlyn might be a little bit vulnerable here, especially, you know, if she gets flanked, she gets caught out. It's one of those things that I just don't think she works in the current meta right now. But this is just a really good buff for you, for those Caitlyn players out there. You know, you're gonna start to doing more damage. Cool. Alright, so Darius has been nerfed, so his Noxian Might bonus attack damage went from 30 to 230, and now it is 20 to 205. That's pretty significant, which is really good because Darius has been kind of a menace in solo queue. Not exactly in pro play, but in solo queue and amateur, Darius is definitely a pick that you can consider. I think he's very strong. He has good team fighting, he has good sustain, and you know, he's just a very stable top laner, and that can output good amount of damage, and like I said, can really contribute to team fights. So this is just a welcome nerf for Darius, and will help kind of lower down his power. Okay, Dr. Mundo. Got a slew of buffs here actually. So Infected Cleaver, health refund on hit is 50%, and health refund on kill is 100%. That's very significant actually, and it's gonna help him survive a lot more. It's gonna help, yeah, basically it's just gonna help, you know, his sustain, because Dr. Mundo is kind of I feel like he doesn't do as much damage. He's more of a sustain kind of jungler, more of a tank style jungler, so this is just gonna help him sustain a lot better, especially with the advent of Grievous Wounds getting buffed. This is gonna help. The bonus damage of Masochism is really minor. It's like 1% each thing, so I think at higher health it will kind of start to kind of ramp up a little bit, but I don't think it's too significant. Sadism, his ulti, having from 50-75 to 100 to 60-85 and 110%, so adding 10% to each rank. It's gonna be, like I said, it's just gonna really help him kind of stay more alive in team fights. It's gonna help him kind of you know, be a bit more of that frontliner or that disengager that you want. So again, with the advent of Grievous Wounds, I think this buff is well needed, because otherwise Dr. Mundo just kind of feels a little bit useless, especially because Grievous Wounds got updated last patch, got buffed up, and the what do you call it? Grievous Wounds items are much easier to get with the current new items. So I think this will definitely help out. Elise. Venomous Bite damage has been reduced by quite a significant amount, and I don't think this will affect pro play at all, because Elise is not good in pro play. Amateur Elise, it's a comfort pick for collegiate. So in collegiate, I haven't seen Elise much actually. So I don't really know how much this will affect Elise, because I don't play Elise. I rarely see Elise in kind of normal games, so it's hard to tell. But I think it's gonna be a nerf, definitely. Things are gonna be pretty significant, especially towards the end, because that reducing it by 20 damage, especially when you factor in like AP items, it's gonna be definitely pretty significant. So I expect her to fall maybe a tier in the tier list. Maybe not a tier, I would say. Maybe she falls maybe like halfway down her tier, but it's not gonna be like complete game-breaking nerf. Ivern supposedly got nerfed last patch. Apparently they didn't nerf him, and so now it's the proper nerf. Shield ratio 90% AP to 80% AP. That's pretty significant, being 10%, especially because he builds AP. So overall could change, and it's gonna help him. So it's gonna help him be a little bit more killable. Ivern is a definite situational pick, I think. You can pick him at certain times, and he can be pretty good. His clear is really good, and it's very random the way he clears. You can be very creative with your clear path, because you just put down the Friends of the Forest, and then you can gank, and you come back, clear in a very weird order, because you one-shot it anyways, and yeah. So it's gonna be a nice nerf. LeBlanc, her health grows 92-97. That's pretty okay, pretty nice. Sigil of Malice 50. So having that Sigil of Malice at the end, becoming a bit less mana, is gonna be really nice. So it just helps her being able to spam her abilities a little bit more, and maybe help her with mana issues that she might have towards the late game. So I think, well, like I said, LeBlanc is probably not gonna be like, it's gonna be a very situational pick still. But I think she works really well in team comps. I think teams, are sleeping a little bit on her, because she can work somewhat well with dive comps. Maokai, beautiful. So they've nerfed his sapling toss, which is, yes, it is his issue. That was making him really good in patch 11.1. So making the mana cost higher is gonna make him throw sapling less, which means he can't throw as many, which means he can't have as much vision, which means he can't have as much Imperial Mandate stacks. It's gonna definitely really benefit everybody else playing against him. Damage ratio being reduced also is really damn good, because otherwise Maokai does insane amount of damage. Again, you just watch a lot of pro play. Good example, I would say T1 Hanwha Game 3, where Keria just did the most damage on T1 with Maokai as a support, because Maokai exists. Yep. So that, again, it will really help him nerf the damage, and I think makes Maokai look more easier to deal with. I don't think it's going to affect much in pro play, because pro play, they're more deliberate with their sapling tosses, and the ulti is still there with Maokai, and it's still unchanged, and the ulti can be really nice engage or disengage, depending on how you choose to use it, or even chase down. So I think Maokai is still going to be picked in pro play. It's just going to be maybe less picked than what he is now. So Nocturne, Duskbringer, 10 to 8 seconds, really huge. It's going to be really nice. 2-second cooldown reduction, and his ulti being reduced by 10 seconds is really huge. It's going to help him being able to have more map presence, do more damage. Overall, really nice. Um, I don't think it's gonna make Nocturne like suddenly the best jungler in the world, but it's gonna make him way more viable in the current meta. Nunu and Willem, movement speed reduced, just helps you being able to react more quickly to her and her stupid snowball. And her health being reduced, I don't think the health being reduced is super huge, because you mostly build armor anyways, but it's definitely a welcome change. I think the movement speed is somewhat significant. It's just 345 to 340. It's gonna make her a little bit less kind of menacing in lane. Alright, so Aatrox didn't necessarily, I would say, get nerfed or buffed. I would say maybe indirectly nerfed to some extent. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to reduce the self-healing. They're trying to reduce their self-healing from Gore Drinker and put it into their kit. So right now, Umbral Dash's self-healing is being increased during World Ender, and World Ender's self-healing is getting reduced, which means Gore Drinker is going to be less effective. I think probably at this point it's going to be an indirect nerf to Aatrox, because Gore Drinker, I believe, has a less cooldown than his E, because his E has an absurdly long cooldown at times. So it probably makes people prioritize E more in their builds, and yeah, I think he's gonna be less survivable overall. So that's gonna be a welcome change, because Aatrox is nigh on unkillable at times. Same thing with Olaf. His lifesteal of his W is increased, but his healing amp decreases, which just makes him a little bit less Gore Drinker viable. I think Aatrox is still gonna, Olaf, sorry, is still gonna be a really good pick. But maybe it's not gonna be it's not gonna be like have like almost a 100% presence anymore. I think he's still very usable and very good. I just think it will, Gore Drinker, he's gonna be less survivable in team fights, which means he'll be much easier to kind of deal with for people of all skill levels, really. Senna, her base attack speed ratio increased, which is good, so she can fire more. Her passive has increased miss rate, drop chance, and the gold from the miss race is increased. I don't know much. I don't think this change is super good. I mean, it's really gonna land into the because this feels like Riot is. She said they want to buff support Senna, but the way I see it is that Senna is not really support anymore. Like, Senna never really was she is a support, but I don't think she plays like a support. She's played very much like an ADC. So I think these changes may legitimately make her make farming, fasting Senna a better pick. So look out for fasting Senna, because fasting Senna got indirectly buffed right here. I actually just got full on buffed. Sorry. Healing ratio increase is huge. Damage ratio increase, pretty huge again. Like I said, helps her in her ADC role. Support role, I don't think she was ever support to begin with. And now her Q adds Kraken Slayer, so again, look out for Fasting Senna. Fasting Senna may legitimately be viable now. Shaco, backstab, damage increase by 10. That's great, I guess. I mean, Shaco I think is a little bit too gimmicky, and the fact that you have to backstab and it's really reliant on positioning is really... It makes him a little bit more hard to play in a more organized team setting. So I think Shaco is still gonna be not great, but it will definitely help those of you who main Shaco. Soraka, Q, Starcall, Total Rejuvenation heal has increased, and her Astral Infusion W has also increased her heal and also increased her heal ratio. Again, it's to really counteract Grievous, but again, Grievous is it's really easy to get right now that I still think Soraka is not good in the current meta. Like, until Grievous is a little bit harder to get, or they nerf Grievous wounds somewhat, I think Soraka is not gonna be really viable. Trundle, Chomp getting more AD is kind of alright. I mean, he's more of a tank, so being able to attack more isn't really where he is, like where the buffs should go. I think if you are gonna buff Trundle, I think you should really look to buff his resistance, his kind of tankiness, so that he can be more viable as a tank jungler again, because that's what he was used for in the previous season, and that's where I think his kind of niche lies, is just being a really nice tank jungler with good utility. So the changes are great, but it's not gonna make him any better, in my opinion. Varus mana growth increased, well, great, by 7. That's actually really nice, because Varus has always been always has mana issues, so mana growth is really great. Chains of Corruption having less cooldown, also really nice. Just makes makes Chains of Corruption a little bit more viable to use in team fights, and just makes Varus that little bit more scary. Lastly, for the champ changes, it's Zoe. So now the minion spell shard now drops a lot more of the new items. So Randuin's Omen, Locket, Turbo Chem Tank, Shirelia's, Yomu's, Gore Drinker, Stride Breaker, and Prowlers. And they removed Redemption. I think the removal of Redemption is pretty huge. And to be honest, looking at the current what do you call it? The spell shard drops, I think Randuin's might be useful because it's a cleanse. Locket, I don't know, Locket is going to be particularly useful. Turbo Chem Tank, maybe, for a chase down situation. Shirelia is going to be pretty huge because later on in the Shirelia's change, they changed it to AP, so that's going to be pretty huge. Yomu's Ghostblade, again, great for chase down, I guess. Gore Drinker, Stride Breaker, I don't think they're useful. Prowlers, I also don't think it's useful because I don't think Zoe wants to just charge straight into a fight, like head first. They may be useless for it. I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think they're particularly useful. Item shard bug fixes. Yep, that's just a really nice bug fix, so it just really helps her out. Items. Okay, so we're moving on. Essence Reaver. 30% of max mana into 40% of damage dealt. That's really huge. That's gonna result in actually much more mana for a lot of the champs, because now it's not reliant on how much max mana your champ has. It's reliant on the amount of damage that you do. So if you build Essence Reaver like third item, you can start getting a lot of mana back. So I'm thinking champs like Lucian is gonna really benefit from the Essence Reaver. MF is really gonna benefit. You might even be able to put it on Samira. I know Presence of Mind Samira is already really her mana is okay already. Like it's not like a huge concern, but I think it will definitely help with our mana. So yeah, so a lot of mana hungry AD champs are gonna be much better. Gangplank as well is really gonna be benefit from this. Gale Force, Cloudburst cooldown from 60 seconds to 90 seconds I think it's okay, it's good. Just makes people less maneuverable, which means it's an indirect nerf to Jhin, so Jhin can't escape as much or chase down as quickly, because Gale Force is gonna be on cooldown more often than not. Hexac Rocket Belt. The supersonic bonus movement speed has been reduced and lasts a shorter amount of time, so it's definitely gonna be, it's a huge nerf. I think like 20% movement speed and for like 0.5 seconds. I think that's really huge. What I think it's still gonna be good, because you do want the dash forward is still a thing, but it's just gonna make the chase down a little bit harder with Rocket Belt, which is great. Imperial Mandate. The coordinate fire cooldown now applies. The cooldown now starts during the initial application of slow or immobilize. I think this is good because I think previously, if I'm not mistaken, you are able to just, as long as your ally doesn't attack, if you keep hitting them with your saplings, it's gonna really apply a lot of Imperial Mandate. Keep applying Imperial Mandate to different people. So now, after you apply the slow or the immobilize, it's gonna stop. It's gonna instantly go on cooldown. So you're gonna apply less stacks, I think, overall, which is a great change. Kraken Slayer is now leveraging on-hit modifiers, so Severum Q for Aphelios, Katarina R, and Urgot W. You are bringing back 200 years, and I think it's really gonna be a really huge buff to Aphelios, because now if you have Severum Q, every third hit of your Severum Q is actually gonna stack Kraken Slayer and proc it as well. So not sure how to feel about this. I think of 200 years might legitimately be really back, because now last patch you already buffed Aphelios with the Runans changes, now you buffed Aphelios again with Kraken Slayer changes. So look out for 200 years, he's coming back with a vengeance. Shirelli's Battle Song, the health is reduced from 350 to 200. It no longer grants 5% movement speed, and now it grants 40 AP, which is gonna be good. I think it may actually be now more of a mid lane. I think you can consider it as a mid lane. Mythic. I think you can really think about it as a mid lane mythic now. It's gonna be more viable, especially with mana regen increasing from 50% to 100%, and the 40 AP. It's gonna be really good. So really do consider Shirelli as a mid laner now. I think mid laners maybe. Let's see, who would be beneficial? Stuff like Vigar, maybe. You could think of building Shirelius, maybe even Zoe. You could think about building Shirelius on. So yeah, look out. Gargoyle Stoneplate, 45 armor and MR has been increased from 3% to 5% and from 15% to 25%. That's pretty nice for Gargoyles, because Gargoyles has felt a little bit kind of useless recently. So this is going to really help people who build Gargoyles. So, not your Nautilus is the big one that I can think of right now. It's going to be a lot more survivable, especially with Aftershock. He's going to be able to survive a lot more in team fights. Okay, so lethality items have undergone some changes. So they're cheaper, but as a result, their stats that they give are a little bit less. I think that's good. It's fine. It's not going to impact them too much. I think it might shift their priorities, like which item you build first. You might start looking at like an Umbral Glaive first, and I think it's gonna be really. It just makes it cheaper, but reduces their power a little bit. So overall, it's not gonna be super huge. Same thing for the marksman, really, except it's the opposite. They're a little bit more expensive, but their attack speed increased by 5%, which is good, pretty significant. I think for 100 more gold, if I'm not mistaken, I think the 5% extra attack speed is gonna be really, really nice for 100 more gold. I think with the lethality items, having 5 less AD is a little bit less significant, but I think 5% more attack speed is gonna be really nice. Especially if you have a mythic that improves attack speed, it's gonna be extra excellent. So again, Runan's indirectly buff, look out for 200 years. Tank mythic Sunfire Aegis got hit pretty hard here. So the Tenacity slow resist per legendary item instead of the ability haste now. So they swapped the mythic passive with Turbo Chem Tank. I think this makes more sense, to be honest, because Sunfire Aegis is known as the mythic that you get if you want to build like a true tank, like somebody who can like take a lot of shots. You build Sunfire Aegis. Whereas Turbo Chem Tank, gotta go fast. Cough cough. DRX versus Nongshim today. Udyr, Turbo Chem Tank, lightning quick. So I think this is really nice. It brings each item more into line with what that item is supposed to do. Sunfire Aegis being more of a tank item, pure tank, damage resist, that kind of thing. Whereas Turbo Chem Tank being more of the being more of the kind of move a little bit faster and attack quicker, that kind of thing. So I think it just brings it more into in line, which is good, but I think it's gonna make Sunfire just a little bit less popular because of this. Frostfire Gauntlet is cheaper now, really nice. Ability haste increase, armor, but the armor decrease. I think it's gonna be really nice on stuff like Ezreal, actually, because I think the increased ability haste is really nice, but they reduce armor. So I think look out for like range tanks, like stuff like the Ezreal or something, because they don't have to necessarily engage super hard. So yeah, that's really it with the changes. I mean, you got ARAM stuff, bug fixes, and quality of life changes. Nothing really huge. So those are the changes, and those are my personal opinions on the changes. So again, some really good changes here, but I think maybe missing the mark on some changes, and maybe indirectly, accidentally buffing Aphelios again. Like I said, some things may have missed the mark, like Senna. Like buffing support Senna, I still don't think Senna is going to be ever played really support. But this is just indirectly buffing fasting Senna. Look out. And again, the Runans and the Kraken Slayer buffs, they're gonna really legitimately indirectly buff Aphelios. So look out for 200 years. He's back with a vengeance. What else do I not like? I think those are fine. I think the changes are fine. Other than that, so yeah, like I said, really nice lean in in terms of changes. Like I said, not making super huge changes right now is really good. You know, giving more kind of minor. I like Riot's direction, being a little bit more slow with the changes, giving more minor changes, so that it's not gonna instantly break or break any champions, like make it really OP or make it really useless. So overall, love the patch notes. Viego, I'm gonna have to see. It's gonna be, I think, a little bit difficult to start with, and I think players and are really gonna have to, and coaches are really gonna have to think about how to use Viego, or whether Viego should even be allowed in the game, or should be in the permaban list. All right. So hopefully this patch note review is of some importance and of some use to you. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to see more educational league content like this, I try to post weekly. So, if you want to see more, please hit subscribe so that you'll be notified whenever my videos come out. If this is useful to you guys, please, like this video and share it with your friends. But other than that, I will see you guys till the next video. The next video most likely will be a drafting guide. So if you really want to see that, again, hit subscribe and stay tuned. Alright guys, thanks for being here, and I'll catch you later.